everybody.
Hi. Hi, too.
Excuse me, everybody. So, got my list of poems to read here, poems here. A little nervous, but that'll happen. So, I guess we'll just get into it. How y'all feeling, by the way?
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Am I welcome here?
Yeah.
Okay. That helps a little bit. All right. Now for sad poems. Woo! A primitive condition of pain and longing. The sky in New England is so close. I drove up to see friends in November, 2 months after I drank the deep end and disappeared from a life and love I couldn't love myself enough to want. College sweethearts, my friends rehashed resentments and walked a new dog out to piss. I wore dark denim and indigo flannel and fancied myself the bluest man in Providence. At the river, I pondered a trout's white eye, dusty as the moon, reaching for the sky as no one really does with loss. Mostly you just stand in supermarkets figuring out which frozen pizza is least likely to make you weep. And I stood on Lovecraft's grave. He was a xenophobe and a good son, and maybe it's good that he's dead. I mean, I screened my dad's calls because he asked about money. I mean, it's good when a man who caricatures the people he should care for as fish-faced omens of apocalypse finally dies. One day, God willing, I will be good and know it. Or maybe some angelic baseball will rock my skull and doose me free. I'm not okay. See, in Warren, in that squashed blossom light above the bay, spent cold clouds dropped anchor when the puppy juked hard, rolled ragdoll into leaves, a wild mop of palms, rocked himself and trotted off that mulch. I mean, my friends were in love, and it was hard to watch them laugh. But harder in December to stand above my grandpa's body alone. Slack-jawed, as everyone says, and metal in his deepest teeth, I pet his forehead, raised his eyebrows half an inch toward the sky. I wanted to thumb open each eyelid, didn't, and I regret it. I'm saying I'd be just as not okay if I did. I'm saying it matters because here is ephemeral and fucked. I said thank you, and thank you, and thank you. You did the best you could with what you had left. Runaway drunk, flung home sober like my father and me. Convert to sugars he couldn't take. Moaning as Dad prayed and wept on the porch. He was there. My father. His own, his first, watched death. He held the dreamless fingers, told him to let go, sat and cried again. We shared potato chips and Pepsi by the body. He took a breath, he said, and then there was no more. He stood and shook his father's shoulder, rocked the shut eyes side to side and said what you say. Somewhere else is better than this.
Yeah.
So that is a poem in this little thing I made. Nice little paper. It's, you know, I'm just saying it's not like I didn't just use what. It'll hold together.
You're doing great, Tim!
Thanks, Connor. But it's this little thing I've titled Somewhere Else is Better Than This, as you have just heard. So I am also selling them. I've been asking $5. If you're not cool with that, talk with me. I'm a pretty cool guy. If you are cool with that, thank you. So let's see. All right. Okay. Van Gogh's ghost begins his resurrection piece by piece with a story about the boots. Dear reader, dearest little god of breath, If you say I weave my body, so I weave my body into a flea market. This needy grove of copper rings and peacock feather hats, no hook should have to bear. You say, so I do. Buy 2 brown boots, and because they're too stiff, I tug them up and slog alone through green wheat and downpour. Clubbed lashes tracing my fingers as I wonder what outlast, sadness or rain. Because that is all some do, and all I would do again. And stepping past my door, laces dangling like glowworms' ruthless silks, I wrench off my boots, watch them piss themselves at the hearth, and weep. Not for harrowed beauty, the floorboards drowning beneath it. Say I become a billowed field of weeping, and I pour myself in 2 hands, and paint 2 used boots, and carried in their wilted throats like a seed from a sunflower's pit, I drop dewy from your lips in the shell of this story. Or the other, where I buy a pistol, and hug the muzzle to my chest, push 1 thumb against the guns, 1 bullet soldered to a single bone in my spine, whose name I have no breath to say. Dear reader, dear God, forgive. Boxed under a woven bed of ivy on which a sparrow stomps, whistles like a wet log in a pyre, and loosens the tongue of a down feather, my 7th thoracic vertebra. Like the abandoned sketch that ruptured my faith in preservation when it burned and broke, blackened scraps rafted toward over the hearth, and 2 slouched boots that couldn't save, an open door rising out of your lungs. Okay, this is one I have finished today. So we'll see how I feel after I read it now. The Beast of Germantown. It was the mid-1700s, South Central France. Something was killing their children. It sprang up from tree lines and stole them into shade. It made busts of their heads, bodies tender marble toppled in red leaves. No one knows where it came from, but whom it spared is gone. It broke into sunlight and shared it with a woman at the river, who daggered a stick and stuck it in the something's chest, and it clattered breathless to the stony bank, the thing. Its body was hearsay when the village came to see. It followed, maybe, the river. No one followed the river. That winter, it de-blooded 11 beloveds and a vagrant. No one said it would be okay. Mouth to mouth, it changed. The woman said its eyes glowed red, that it personed on hind legs. The man who fluted its brain thought it God's reckoning. I want to say Grendel. Lay down your arms. Centuries have left it, and all it was is a wolf and morally exempt. Good, bad, color it how you want, you label it your heart. They cut it open like in fables. In its stomach, a little girl. It was an ending. There are only animal reasons why it chose her. Cholera shelled her brother. She was dismembered and the others weren't in it. No one knows quite how heaven works either, but it's not the stomach of a wolf, and it's fair then, I think, to say she wasn't hell. She was becoming, as everyone comes to be, the ship of something else. But it all moves in the same direction. It coils up and builds. It never gets lost. Let's see. I can't remember when I started. So we'll go off the list, I guess. That's why I made it. Okay. An unidentified matriarch does not partake of a meal in my dream. Her husband hurled a rock at the goat eyeballing him from a low beam of the half-raised barn. Its skull drooled. It leaned and fell without grace or remark and roused dust. white hide stretched and nailed between two sawhorses, the red bundle of the stripped goat browned all afternoon on dormant grass, in the shadow of its own skin and a man's wet fist, in an August of broken records and ribs. A recurring goat she won't touch. My stranger tells me she was born in 1842 and what he said to make her leave her mother's house for this. All the things no one says in real life. And then he winked. You don't have to worry about a thing, brother. And he hugged me mercifully. Then you can presume the torture started. Maybe nightly. Maybe not. I woke and knew dreams, new and certain histories. I remembered an armadillo tutued with its sweetbreads, tire tracks scorched toward the ragged wound. I crossed red mash and smeared it down a lane, breadcrumb record of the dead. Then a young guy's eyes like creek shine stones. He's blacked out and wants to strangle me in a basement party because I cracked the joke he doesn't understand. A roommate plants against his shoulders, hard. Look, she says, you're letting him. Everything is happening again.
Okay. So this one, I don't like the title, so, fuck, why did I say that? Should have kept that to myself. So I won't read the title. I'll just call it Untitled. Because I don't think there's enough context with the poem. So here we go. 1. I begin some days by asking who died. Some begin without me, and another stirring the bedsheets like a roux, making of me a cup of flour, poured evenly into morning. 2. God does not know how to pray, so I teach him with my lack of proper discernment. My urge to sift what berries any bird has eaten and eat. To tiptoe the distant wire where sky and water slumber cheek to cheek. Then hold a candle steady underfoot. 3. Only one siren and on its way. 4. If solitude is a garden, the sun longs for bark and longer weeds again. Red light like a letter, read as it is written. And my thoughts are still bees kicking and abandoning, repeatedly, pink bones nailed through the face of a precious flower. 5. Memory trussels to the snow. Saw myself breathing not because was dissociating, but because breathe. Sat on a ledge and let legs not be enough. Am a precious flower. 6. What asks for me is listening. The answer is more listening. Sadness has enough names by now. Thank you. Alright, this will be the last one. Another one from this one. And everything I can say about my poems, I can just not. Did I just start another poem?
That's the title of that.
Yeah. There you go. Oh shit.
Everybody writing that down right now.
Alright. Last one. Possible reasons Smashburger closed down. George at Pep Boy says it was probably drugs. When you see a SWAT, that's usually what it is. A franchise can do whatever. Long as they call a cheeseburger a classic smash, they can call the local special savior. I have these hoof stomp and muddy lawn Saturdays,
these my head under netted roots of that grass shitter days. See, I can call anything, anything too. The way a man who was in love with my ex called the uvula that handball thing. The night I visited her at a hotel, which had mostly nothing to do with him, or my feelings, or this smudge of a story, but I will hold a grudge against anything, so fuck the narrative. But really, come on. I wanted him to steal her, and I'd say I'd known a loss that wasn't my fault. Instead, today 2 intestinal vines hang over my side of the fence. I will not describe them better. Go find vines and stare. See your life different. Never come back. And see, I said the way, and carried you through that threshold to my other life. And see, it's the same fucking life. I loved the woman and I knew it. She sharpened insults on the sock I forgot and mailed it back. She touched my face, opened hers when she'd come. I kept my head when she farted in her lap and baked her ziti. Fucked the mornings till we didn't fight, and our mothers met once and were reciprocally unnerved. In one life, all that. And the same life I packed fast. Told her everything people who wouldn't want to and can't know say they want to know. The knob clicked, her bolt locked. I drove to my brother's apartment and slept well enough. Then I did it again. And again, and so on as one does until tonight, and belatedly buried my shithead days in New Jersey. A state the dead can't leave, for they've no money. And I vow I'll come back only on these what am I doing, wherefore good Lord Saturdays, when I find myself in the parking lot of a liquor store where I bought beer, when I was different years, both and either in love and or one sharp shard of heart. This is getting out of my hands now. I think the franchisee doesn't know what to say. I think they called SWAT on himself. I think one day he just stopped opening the door. Thank you so much.